Wounds to wisdom, here we grow. Lessons learned, let love flow. Healing hearts, one step at a time. Turn the pain into something divine. Whoa.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're ready for another deep dive, and this time, well, we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of people have probably experienced at some point or maybe haven't had a name for. We're going to be talking about emotional betrayal. And, it's something that it's not always as obvious as maybe some of the things that happen in relationships. Like, when we think about betrayal, we often think about infidelity.
Right.
Physical infidelity.
Exactly. It's much more overt.
Yeah.
But emotional betrayal is very insidious, and it can really kind of chip away at the foundation of a relationship.
Yeah, and it can be so hard to put your finger on sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what? Something's not quite right.
Right.
But I can't tell you exactly what it is.
It's that gut feeling. You know something's off, but you can't necessarily articulate it.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so damaging, because it can go on for so long.
Yeah, so let's break this down a little bit. When we talk about emotional betrayal, what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah, so, at its core, emotional betrayal is about a violation of trust, right?
Right.
And a violation of the agreements that you have in your relationship. And these agreements aren't necessarily things that you've sat down and written out on a piece of paper or, talked about explicitly.
Yeah, they're unspoken.
Exactly. They're unspoken, but they're there.
Yeah.
And so when those agreements are violated, it can really lead to the sense of betrayal.
Okay, so give us an example. What might that look like?
Sure. So, one example might be if your partner consistently dismisses your feelings or your opinions.
Okay.
So let's say you've had, a really tough day at work, and you come home and you're trying to, share your frustrations with your partner, and they just completely shut you down. Or they change the subject, or they tell you to get over it.
Right.
That can be a form of emotional betrayal. Another example might be if your partner consistently prioritizes other relationships over yours.
Okay, so like their friends, their family.
Exactly, yeah. So, maybe they're always canceling plans with you to hang out with their friends, or they're always, talking about how much they love their family, but they never seem to have any time for you.
Right.
Over time, that can really start to feel like, wait a minute, where do I fit in here?
Right, yeah. Like I'm not a priority in this relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another example might be dishonesty.
Oh, okay. So even if it's not like the big D dishonesty, even little things.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to a little bit of privacy,
Sure.
right? We don't have to share absolutely everything with our partners.
Right.
But if your partner is consistently lying to you, even about small things, that can be a sign of emotional betrayal.
Okay.
Because it erodes trust.
So it's the trust that's really at the foundation of all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's, thinking about all of this,
Yeah.
what kind of impact does this have on someone long term to experience this kind of betrayal?
Yeah, emotional betrayal can have a really significant impact on someone's mental and emotional health.
Okay.
It can lead to feelings of worthlessness, insecurity, anxiety, depression. When someone betrays us emotionally, it can really shake our sense of self.
Yeah, like what am I doing wrong?
Exactly. You start to question yourself, you start to question your judgment, and it can also make it really difficult to trust people in the future.
Right, because if this person who I'm supposed to be closest to, who's supposed to love me unconditionally, if they can betray me, then who can't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, people who've experienced emotional betrayal often have a really hard time opening up to new people, letting people in.
Right.
They might be very guarded. They might be very suspicious.
Right.
And it can really make it difficult to form healthy relationships.
So then let's talk about, what happens then? What do you do? How do you start to heal from this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Healing from emotional betrayal is possible.
Okay, good.
But it does take time, and it takes work. And it really requires both partners to be committed to the process.
Okay, so what does that look like? What do both partners need to be doing?
Yeah, so for the partner who betrayed the trust, the first step is really acknowledging the pain that they've caused.
Okay.
And taking responsibility for their actions.
So not just saying, oh, I'm sorry, but really meaning it.
Exactly. It can't just be lip service.
Right.
It has to be a genuine expression of remorse.
Okay.
And then they need to be willing to make changes. Whatever behavior led to the betrayal, they need to be willing to address that behavior and make changes so that it doesn't happen again.
What about the person who was betrayed? What do they need to do?
Yeah, so for the person who was betrayed, I think one of the most important things is to allow themselves to feel their emotions. You know, it's normal to feel hurt, to feel angry, to feel confused.
Right.
And it's really important to not try to suppress those emotions.
Okay, so don't just stuff it down and pretend it didn't happen.
Exactly. Because if you do that, it's just going to come out in other ways.
Right.
So allow yourself to feel those emotions, but also, try to do it in a healthy way.
Okay.
So that might mean talking to a therapist, talking to a trusted friend or family member, journaling, finding healthy outlets for those emotions.
Right.
And then I think it's also really important to communicate your needs to your partner.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that you need to feel safe and secure in the relationship?
Right.
What are the things that your partner can do to rebuild trust?
So like setting boundaries, maybe.
Exactly. Setting boundaries is a really important part of healing from emotional betrayal, because it helps you to feel safe and it helps you to start to rebuild trust.
Okay, and you had also mentioned earlier self-care.
Yes, self-care is so important in this process.
So explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so, when we've been betrayed by someone, it can really damage our self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to focus on taking care of ourselves, on doing things that make us feel good, on reminding ourselves of our worth.
So does that mean like taking some time for yourself?
It could mean taking some time for yourself. It could mean, doing things that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean spending time with people who make you feel good.
Right.
It could mean anything that helps you to feel good about yourself.
Okay.
And that's really important because, if you don't feel good about yourself, it's going to be really hard to trust other people.
Yeah, that makes sense because you have to feel like you're worth trusting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So self-care is a really important part of the healing process.
Well, this has been really enlightening. So, I think that the big takeaway here is that emotional betrayal is
Right.
real.
Absolutely.
It's painful.
Yeah.
And there are things that you can do to heal from it.
Exactly.
It's not easy, but it's possible.
It's not easy, but it's possible. And I think it's important to remember that, relationships can go through really tough times.
Mm-hmm.
But if both partners are committed to working through it, then it is possible to come out the other side stronger.
Well, thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive today. I think this is something that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, if you're out there listening and you're going through something like this is giving you a little bit of hope.
Yeah, I hope so.
So for everyone listening out there, you've heard a lot about emotional betrayal. Think about your own relationships.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced this? And, if you have, what are some of the things that you did to cope and to start to heal?
Thank you for tuning in to Wounds to Wisdom, where every heartbreak turns into a breakthrough and every lesson becomes a blessing. Remember to subscribe, share, and join our community of love and growth. Together, let's rewrite the stories of our hearts, one wise decision at a time. Until next time, remember, your journey is your power, and your wisdom is your greatest gift. Stay inspired and stay loved.
From wounds to wisdom we rise so strong, learning loving where we belong. Heal your heart, embrace the right, grow through the pain with love as our guide.